So is Rabbi down in that seat?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey.
What are they doing down there? It's downstairs.
Wow.
8 o'clock?
Don't they do it to him before?
You did to him and
No,
then
no, right, it's 9:50.
it's not on schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
David sends it in, normally, on the...
Primarily, they were coming all year, but yeah, it should be on
They wrote it
schedule.
once.
Let's see. No, man. I'm into that now.
Yeah, just got it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure from this. Sure. Mic is on.
Thank the family for sponsoring לעילוי נשמת של גדליה ומושמן from Simcha Nachas and Bracha. Okay, I'm going to try to finish this limud for now and to return to the subject of the Sefer HaKadoshis. You should all have either the pages from last week or pictures. We're on page Kuf Yud Gimel in Talei Chaim. At the end of our discussion of Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chai Yechida, so I felt it was important that we learn what this means in the context of Am Yisrael as a people. And Rav Sasson here in Talei Chaim is explaining this. We spoke a little bit last week about Nefesh and Ruach. So on page Kuf Yud Gimel. In the meantime, over the past few days, I don't know if you saw that David Lawrence had Svarim that came from Bayom Dakercha, an introduction to Pnimiyus HaTorah, B'derech HaChassidus. So I'm thinking of switching to that. I was learning it the whole Shabbos and yesterday, last night. And it has so much the Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh in it in this. So we'll see. I'm sure David can get us more. Okay. Adkan asaknu b'skira kalelas al shir kremes Am Yisrael b'sod madregos chayiv. You have it on page Kuf Yud Gimel. Until now, we were talking about the same way that each individual person is nefesh, ruach. So too, when it comes to the krem of Am Yisrael, and how at the beginning this time of the generation of Gula, of redemption, we're waiting for Mashiach, so Hashem should come any day. So we had to go through long years. I mean, the bigger picture of our history is not that long, but these past 100 years plus, where the focus was very much on developing the nefesh of Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael returning to our country and developing ourselves in terms of economy and hospitals, v'chulei. But now, hine mikan noshuv el doreinu, our generation, dor hagula. Hine binyan haguf is tayem. Baruch Hashem, there's been unbelievable work that's been done over this past century to build the guf of the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael. That the country has been developed in the most remarkable way. Utviyos hachayim el madreges gedolos yoser, holchos v'nasos chazokos yoser b'kerev hanefashos. But now that the guf, even though of course there's still some difficulties, until Mashiach comes, there are still poor people in the world, and Eretz Yisrael, but for the most part, the land, Eretz Yisrael, has been developed. The guf of Eretz Yisrael, the nefesh, is very, very healthy. And now there's a demand, this tviyas achayim el madreges gedolos yosef. There's a greater demand for the moving on to higher madreges, to ruach and to neshama, to chayim, to yechida. V'nasos chazokos yosef b'kerev hanefashos. To become much, much stronger. B'kerev hanefashos, within the souls of the Jewish people. So what we're seeing is a remarkable thing, that in this generation, the explosion of Torah, especially in Eretz Yisrael, the explosion of Torah. We're in such a short time, it's become almost understood. Not everybody can afford to, and it's difficult, but it's almost understood that every single person should try to get to learn, to go to Eretz Yisrael. Every one of the kids growing up, to try. It's become accepted. That was just really beginning when I was in high school. They had this thing called Tochnit Yugimel. It was just starting then, this idea of spending the second part of the senior year of high school to go to Eretz Yisrael. Those were the years of BMT and Machon Gold, and Chavos started going a little bit to Kerem B'Yavne and to Gush. But large-scale migration wasn't really until the past 40 years, 50 years, 45 years, where to go to Eretz Yisrael, and the Olam in Eretz Yisrael, this tremendous ribui haTorah b'dor zeh, tremendous. The yeshivas, the amount of yeshivas, the amount of learning that's going on, ubesvarim, and the amount of svarim that are available. Ad ki b'chol ha'aretz yotza kavam b'tzei seven milayim. The whole world is filled with more learning and more svarim. Sifrus ha'halacha mishtabachas u'mogeshes l'kol mavakesh. Anybody who wants to learn the revealed Torah, halacha and Gemara and so on, it's mogeshes l'kol mavakesh. Everybody can get it. Shiur Torah, Lomdei Torah, holchem misrabim. The amount of shiurim and the amount of people learning, more and more. So soid kaimas haruach haklalis. So the ruach is returning to the Jewish people. Haholeches umischazekes. V'shleimusa tia b'chidush haSanhedrin. And the shleimus of this is going to be with the chiddush of the Sanhedrin. You remember that last week we were learning about how the institutions of Am Yisrael correspond to Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai, and Yechida. And we were speaking about Ruach corresponding to the Sanhedrin. And then we're moving forward with Neshama to reach Madregas of ultimately reaching Madregas of Nevuah and the turn of prophecy and Mashiach Tzekei, which is Yechida. So B'chidush Sanhedrin, Shleimus and Tia B'chidush Sanhedrin, Lo Yis Kanso Kol Koiches HaTorah L'Bayis Echad. All of the Koiches of the Torah are going to gather together, be concentrated in the Sanhedrin, greatness of Torah. Well, there's going to be once more a centralized location of Kimitzion Tetzei Sorah Dvar Hashem Yisrael. It's already started in our generation. Kimitzion Tetzei Sorah Dvar Hashem Yisrael. V'hinei onu roim nitzonim u'tnuos chaim ha'mavakshos es ha'madregos al Yonas Yosef. And we're seeing already now the blossoming of movements of life that are seeking higher madregas, even higher madregas. Kach musagat Simon unehias halev la Hashem holchum mavshilim bekerv hanefashos. We've never seen such an unbelievable tzimon, a thirst to connect to Hashem. Ad she'olamas hatfila v'hanigun. When it comes to davening, when it comes to nigunim, music. Music, as Rabbi Nachman explains in the third Torah, that music comes from the same place as nevuah. Music, the heichel of Nagina, is netzach and hoy. It's the place. That's why we see, like by Shalom Melech, by David Melech, that in order to awaken nevuah, they would play nigunim, they would play music. So there's a tremendous explosion of also Nagina, of music that there never was for thousands of years. What we have now, some of them are actually good. Usogya had Simon v'nihias halev l'Hashem holchem u'mavshilim b'kerven nefashos ad she'olam es hatfila v'anigan holchem v'nasim v'mashiyim yosef v'yosef u'mispatchim b'tzura shabbos. And it's in all different ways. We see that new excitement about the gunim and davening and tefillah. He brings in footnote memvav v'avayis anigan v'oru ha'hechal elyon. The gunim comes from a very, very high place. Again, we're talking about holding the gunim, kosher the gunim, not imitations of the street. Serious nagina. Avayis hanigan v'oru ha'hechal elyon comes from a very, very high place in Shemayim. This hechal niguna, which the Zohar tells us is called hechal niguna, the chamber of music in Shemayim. Yisrael, and it says in the Tikkun Zohar, Yisrael salkin b'galusa b'niguna. It says that we're going to leave Galus with a nigun. That doesn't only mean when we actually march back, to Yerushalayim, it's going to be with a nigun. It means that the koach and nagina, with the koach and nagina, we can get out of Galus. It's one of the tremendous koachos that we have to bring us out of Galus. The koach of nagina, which began in earnest by the Baal Shem, the Baal Shem. That's when there were some Nigunim before. We don't really remember too many Nigunim from before. I'm not talking about the Sfardim. The Sfardim have a different Masorah. But as far as Ashkenaz, I don't know what the Sfardish Masorah is with Nigunim from 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. I'm not familiar with it. But as far as Ashkenazim, we don't really have much by way of Nigunim that we can remember, except from the time of the Baal Shem and after the time of the Baal Shem Kodesh. There's very few that we know. There are some, but there's some. The Germans have some old Nigunim. There are some Nigunim, but now the amount of Nigunim. Umamshich Haaretz HaShchin, it brings the aura of the Shchin, the koach of a nigun, back on top. Cheshek halev l'tarbus Yehudis. It's a tremendous cheshek we find in the heart. L'tarbus Yehudis, that even people are not necessarily Shamim Mitzvahs, but there's this excitement and fascination over Jewish culture. Na'avir shel simcha v'chiyus b'avodas Hashem, and then on a higher level, the simcha and chiyus and avodas Hashem. Not just to go through the motions anymore. Nasim mitzvach amoik b'kerem nefashos rabbos. This is becoming in need of many souls. It was never before such a thing. Many of the, we spoke about this 1,000 times, and many of the chevra that are leaving Yiddishkeit, it's not because they don't believe in Yiddishkeit. They're looking for something deeper. They're looking for something in their Yiddishkeit. They're not getting it. They're looking for something more meaningful. Not because they don't believe or they don't care. It's not being satisfied. The longing is not being satisfied. In earlier years, we didn't have these kind of things not like nowadays. And they just put your finger on the Gemara and read the Gemara, and that was it. That's how we were raised. We didn't have any Indian of I never went on a Shabbaton in my life. We didn't have any retreats. The only retreats I heard about, like from the Civil War. I don't even remember. We had no retreats. And anybody that remembers the Sfarim stores from 50 years ago, there were very few Sfarim. Some Sino, Tanakh, a couple of Gemaras, a few Sfarim. And then if you want this a little bit more, you go to Williamsburg or Borough Park. But really, the Lower East Side, that's where we used to really go mostly, on the Lower East Side. My Canal Street, my Essex Street was red. But the basics. I remember when we wanted to buy an Avnei Nezer. We wanted to get for our Rabbi in the yeshiva an Avnei Nezer. He was always talking about the Avnei Nezer, and he didn't have one. He would take it from the Bismedrish where he lived. So we decided to buy an Avnei Nezer. We had to order it. It took a month to get an Avnei Nezer. See, an Avnei Nezer is a basic Sefer. You go to any farm store, you get an Avnei Nezer. It wasn't at all. I'm not talking about 100 years ago. I'm talking about 50 years ago. It was, and Shiur and this is my Yonis Torah's HaSefiros, and Rav Shashon says the well springs of Torah's HaSefiros, what's been going on, the excitement over Hasidus and the Sefer HaSefiros. I was in Brooklyn with kids from the shul. We went to some fathers and kids yesterday. Baruch Hashem, we were to do something very nice yesterday, and to this Masbia, this kitchen, the soup kitchen, to be with the kids. It was beautiful. So of course I made a stop over in Svarm store by Beagle Eisen. I made a stop over. And, it's not like I'm not in touch with him every week. I'm in touch about the latest that came in. So it was only like 4 or 5 days that I hadn't spoken to him. And I walk in and the table's covered with, I have 3 boxes. I just unpacked them this morning. 3 boxes. I'll tell my wife yet. That's why I had them brought over here. 3 big boxes of Svarm. I'm so excited. I don't know what to do. And Hasidus and Kabbalah and Pnimiyus and Lamdish Svarm, it's beautiful Svarm that it's never such a thing before. And within 4 or 5 days, it's just unbelievable. The Tzimon, and they're buying them. The people. It's a cheshik for learning. He told me he got me the B'yam Dakechas came in, a whole bunch of B'yam Dakechas. He said he got him in a day. They're going hundreds. That's unbelievable. Kol Elohim Nitzanim, Hechina Mosne Rav Mavarach L'Tzivan Zeh. He says the Mayonis of Chassidus have given tremendous nourishment to this longing. The Mayonis of Chassidus. Kol Elohim Nitzanim Mimadreges HaNeshama. These are the Nitzanim, like little buds of the flower, the beginnings of the blossoms. The blossoming of the madrega of the neshama that Am Yisrael is getting her neshama back. It's getting her neshama back. First there was the guf, cleaning the swamps, building the land, farms, army, economy, v'chule. Then ruach, yeshivas, limon Torah, ahavas Hashem, yus Hashem, the most basic, and to bring back the ruach of Yiddishkeit. And now it's the neshama is coming back. The neshama of Am Yisrael is returning. Aholeches v'nidbas me Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael wants her neshama back. Dovas are made ki higia hashar lebinyan beis hamikdash. Now remember, neshama is the madrega of kahuna, of the kohen. Neshama is the madrega of the beis hamikdash. This longing for something in Pnimiyus, for the neshama of Yiddishkeit, is be'etzem a longing for beis hamikdash. To have the avoid the Beis Hamikdash, to be able to have that connection to Kodesh Baruch Hu, the Beis Hamikdash. Higia Shal Binyan Beis Hamikdash. The Chaim Ha'atzumim Shal Avodas Hashem Sheyafaku Boi B'chol Ois. That it's come time for the return of the neshama, where we want once again for Avodas Hashem. When you have a Beis Hamikdash, then they'll be flowing and pouring the life of Avodas Hashem. Can the Fosh's next page? Can the Fosh's Mevakshos Simcha Kisufim? Is this the last page you have?
Yeah.
2 more.
This one took this well.
Last.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we said, yeah. I took a picture. I forgot to send it to Mashadav. Okay. Mevakshos Simcha Kisufim Dveikis B'Hashem B'Ahava. There's talk now among all different groups of Jews about Dveikus, Ahavas Hashem. This is not part of the conversation. A few years ago, nobody spoke about these things. Dveikus. Umokom kol elu eino elu b'beis Hashem. And of course, the true life of Dveikus of Am Yisrael is when we have a Beis Hamikdash. That's what we're waiting for. B'vikudim ha'atzumim. We're longing. The Jewish people are longing to return to the powerful Rikudim dancing of the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, the Chag HaSukkos, the way that it was described, the way that it's described in the Gemara. So now wherever you go, there's Simchas Beis HaShoeva. Again, 40, 50 years ago, we didn't have Simchas Beis HaShoeva. At all. We didn't have it. I never heard of it when I was a kid. Didn't have. You had in Bar Park, it was stolen. You had in the more extra places. They had a Simchas Beis Shvayim, but stam like this all over everywhere. Simchas Beis Shvayim, Simchas Beis Shvayim. It was Chol Sukkos. It was bowling, a movie, some stickball. No Florida, Orlando, nothing like that. some fun. Simchas Beis Shvayim. I've told you many times, Bekoishi, there were a handful of people in the neighborhood that had a sukkah. Most of the people ate in the shul sukkah. It was private people had, wasn't there? It was a big cover if you had your own sukkah. It wasn't it? Not everybody had a sukkah. Far from everybody had a sukkah. Simchas Beis Shvayim. The Shiras HaHalal become Pesach. We're getting ready for all of these things. The neshama of Am Yisrael is getting ready. He wants to have all of this back. Simchas Beis Shvayim, Beis HaMikdash. The Korban Pesach with Halal. Zuya Tachlis of Eroim HaMayla Shal Oisam Gilui Chaim HaMechabsam Simcha B'Avetz Hashem. This is the Tachlis, the Madrega of those. Now we see that are filled with a longing and looking for Simcha B'Avetz Hashem. Not just to go on, but to have Simcha B'Avetz Hashem. And the highest Simcha is in Beis HaMikdash. Isvadus Chaverim B'Shivas Kodesh. We see now also Chaver Verbringing. We're going to have Mirsham Thursday night. We're going to Verbring together with our friends and by Rabbi Yossi Zakitinsky with the Chaver to Verbring for Purim Cotton. You remember when you were younger that there was a Purim Cotton Verbring? Purim Cotton Verbring. Because you remember to do that there were 2 months of Adar. It just meant that my mother wasn't as nervous because Pesach was a month later. That's all it meant. Gurnish, nothing. Purim Cotton, nothing. Shum davar. Purim Cotton is that cotton Gdalya. Purim Cotton is a very, very, very deep part of Am Yisrael's Purim Cotton. Never heard anything about it. Never spoke about it. It was just the calendar, an issue with the calendar. That's all. Jews are Verbringing now. This year, Purim Cotton, there are going to be thousands of Jews all over the world Verbringing. Getting together. Singing, talking. The kinusum shabakashas Hashem. All kinds of kinusum gatherings, different times. Also, when I was growing up, we never had any kind of. There was no. There was they had a good convention with a few people. And OU had some kind of little, whatever. But there were no kinusum like chizuk. We used to go to protest at the United Nations or something. But we didn't have kinusum for kedusha. We didn't have such a thing. Chalal man. Kinusum b'kashas Hashem v'chiyus b'avadasa. Hasadik b'chinas ha'admar shekol Yisrael nesum alibo. The tzaddik, the Rebbe that all of Am Yisrael is waiting for, well, Kohen Gadol. We're waiting to have a Kohen Gadol, to have a Beis HaMikdash, and a Kohen Gadol. Ve'enei hakol tzafiyas al halichosah, and we're waiting to see the footsteps of the Kohen Gadol. Al psiyoseh b'beis kodesh kadoshim. We're waiting to see once again the Kohen Gadol walking into the Kodesh Kadosh. U'ma'areu k'malach Elokim. To see the Kohen Gadol looking like a malach of Hashem. And then there's this unbelievable surge in our generation of Jews who are looking for Sefer Torah, looking to try to connect to Pnimiyus of Torah, to the secrets of Torah, to Sefer Torah. To the highest secrets of Torah. All of these are signs al kaimas hachaya. That we're returning, there's a longing for the level of chaya. So nefesh means building the land, and all that goes with that. Ruach means building up the yeshivas and limud Torah, and all that goes with that. Neshama means tremendous hisayrus when it comes to nagina and to ruchnias and rikudim and Pnimiyus, which is a longing for kahuna and for Beis HaMikdash, for the avoid of the Beis HaMikdash. Simcha and Yiddishkeit and avoid and dveikus. That's the neshama of Am Yisrael is coming back, and chaya already is the longing to have nevuah, to have prophecy. And the beginning stirrings of prophecy, like Rav Kook calls, the beginning of Nevuah is Pnimiyus HaTorah, it's Kabbalah, it's Pnimiyus HaTorah, Razi HaTorah, or HaNevuah. All of Pnimiyus HaTorah, Kabbalah and Chassidus, it's all the ongoing giluyim of the Koach of Nevuah prophecy. That's a whole other conversation. It's not for now. But that's really the shorish of Chassidus, the Avodah and Dveikus and Kabbalah and Chassidus is all from Nevuah. It's a hemshech of Nevuah.
From what part of the neshama of Klal Yisrael comes the desire, the need to eliminate the evil, the pagam from the land, to clean it out, to make way for the possibility of the Beit HaMikdash and such?
Yeah, I think that began. I think that's a level of nefesh, on a very, very basic level, the realization that Eretz Yisrael belongs to us, and the return to the first pasuk of the first word of the Torah Bereshis, and Koach Maasav Higid La'amay, Losses Lahem Nachlas Goyim. That longing to be able to return to the land comes from the place of nefesh, but that's on its most primal level, just to have our own place and to settle in our land and to remove our enemies from the land, We all know that even if all of our enemies, if all of our physical enemies would pack up and leave, which would be a huge bracha if they would pack up and leave, we still have a ruach hatumah in Eretz Yisrael, a terrible ruach hatumah.
Right.
So
the desire to make it naki.
That's already coming from the Dvegas of ruach and neshama. The purification of the land comes in. The purification of the land. So I spoke a little bit on Shabbos, the purification of Eretz Yisrael. That need to purify Eretz Yisrael is a Dvega of ruach and neshama. It's a tremendous again, longing to purify the land. We're watching this over the past few months. What's happened in the past few months is stuff that normally takes 30, 40, 50, 60 years. What's going on? The things that are happening, the rate that things are happening. We don't feel it so much in Chutz La'aretz. We don't feel it, but the people in Eretz Yisrael feel crazy. What's going on? The different mabat, the different mentality, the different perspective of Jews in Eretz Yisrael. But again, there are always holdouts, but there's a tremendous sense now, even among people who are all the Shalom Achshav people, all the peacemakers and the left wingers. It's come out embarrassing these days to talk about that. The Rabbi in Eretz Yisrael. There are holdouts, and we're going to have when the Milchama ends, Mashiach. Milchama, we're going to have to work hard to keep things moving in a good direction. But the kind of talks, the words that are coming out from people who a few months ago were so far from any Musik. Not only that, they were all talking about the two states and Palestinians and everything. Now all of a sudden everybody's thinking back, Meir Kahana, that was those were the good days by Meir Kahana. Those were the good days. To have an Eretz Yisrael that's clean, that's pure. So now we're already on the cusp of this Gilui of Nevuah. The Chaya of the Jewish people has come back to life, which is Nevuah. And this awakening of Nevuah, we see in the awakening of excitement over the learning of Chassidus and Kabbalah and Pnimiyus Torah, not just by the Chassidim, all around. You go now to every place where guys are learning. Some place they have to keep it still, because they have some of the old Rabbi Moshe, they have to be careful, but certainly not in the Hesed yeshivas. The ones who are more openly connected to the land, that also follows through. But you see this everywhere, even by the Litvish yeshivas and so on. A tremendous interest in learning Pnimiyus Torah. Shefa ha'omed me'al kol olam hachushim. So there's a shefa, there's a tremendous hashpah an or where Jews want very much to ascend, to transcend higher than the physical world, to get to something greater than the physical world, that's higher than the chushim, physical senses. Bohek b'zohar oro, to want something that's shining with a higher light. Hatzarech ha'amay, b'lavavos rabbim Yisrael, this deep need in the hearts of many Jews, lahartiv chayei mitalli oris elu, to moisten their hearts with the tal, with the dew of these lights of the hidden Torah. Me'iku is bears testimony. Ki huvshula hamadrega hal yona hazu lochol aleinu, that it's time for chaya, for the level of chaya to return to the Jewish people as a nation. That Am Yisrael wants the return of chaya, of that or of chaya, which is an or that's higher than the guf. It's an or that's higher than, it's beyond this world. Ulas galus b'kirbeinu, lochol aleinu, ulas galus b'kirbeinu. Then I say to lift us up, el mechayzes atzumim, even in the movements that were taking place that were not holy. Even going back to the 60s with the anti-establishment, all the hippies and all the things that were going on, you know that at the center of most of these things there were Jews. Most of these inyanim had to do with Jews. I mean, but who are these Jews? These were Jews that were restless Jews. These are Jews that wanted something higher than the world. So they were looking for something, they were looking to get high. That's what they're looking for, something higher, for something that transcends the guf, for chaya, for madrega of chaya, something higher. Hechalos Kodesh shebimroimim, shlover behem adam l'shezaflei ein ayah. To be able to experience, to see something that the eye hasn't seen, that the people haven't experienced. And the things that are going on nowadays, there's so much, but I don't understand it. It was my son in the car not today, coming back from, he had to be by Aish, and we're coming back. He was telling me about this, what's going on with artificial intelligence, and things I never heard in my life. So my Ushi showed me this thing that on the phone, that they asked the artificial intelligence, I forgot, chat GPT. Chat GPT. So there was somebody that were asking, somebody said, they want to see, can you, the computer, talking to the computer, can you, maybe you saw this, Ushi showed me today, a happy rabbit. For the computer, the artificial to make a happy rabbit. It was asked them. So it shows a very sweet rabbit. It does it instantaneously. A rabbit that was smart. So the person, and then the computer gave like a little parish about this being a joyous rabbit. And the person said, not happy enough, happier. And this went on 3 or 4 steps, and it was like crazy things the computer was making with a rabbit, and like in the cosmos and different eras. No, and then it had perusha. Like the computer was saying, I'm trying to give you more, I'm trying to, and then, but the person kept saying, no, that's not happy enough. Happier. And it came to like a madrega, it was a little bit scary. It came to a madrega of like ayin. Like the whole universe became one. It wasn't about a rabbit anymore, a little bunny. It was like the cosmos, this aura of simcha, with like a little thing of like the leftover of some rabbit's ears. But it was, and the computer was saying pshat in this. And what it wrote is that this is something that you're asking for, something which is higher and that's beyond. You're asking for a return to like oneness. And it was like you thought you were reading Parnes HaShana. It sounded like Rav. And the picture was a picture of or. That the computer has a musig like that. What does that mean? What's going on? What is that? I mean, people have to program a computer. I don't know how that works. What is that?
It draws from everything.
If that's the
So that means that the everything right now, because we've seen this in physics for the last, really since Einstein began, but everything is becoming the unified principle. Everything's coming back to Echad. Everything's coming back to, in physics and other sciences, it's coming back to Echad, to one. And you ask the computer, happier. This is not happy enough. Happier. The computer's going and trying happier. And then it comes, and then Echad. That's it. Something's going on. This is not, it's not, you could, he's been reading a lot about this stuff, and he was explaining to me some things, but you could think this is something very deep that's happening in Hashem's world. This is the need of the Torah. This is Aish Mashiach Mamish. Aish Mashiach Mamish. The same way when we open up Bayam Dakacha, every single page is Dvekas, Echad. Everything is going back to that. We're getting to a madrega of the world wants to have Nevuah. The world wants to be able to have Nevuah. It's going to be soon, and there's this tremendous shuka for the return of Chaya Shebenefesh Am Yisrael, Chaya, which is Nevuah, for these Giluyim that are beyond the world. So even the people that are, even in the 60s, 70s, and people tripping out and getting high, and the music, these are all malbushim of course, of Tumah, all kinds of malbushim. But the Pnimiyus of that rotzen, it's something, it's Aish Mashiach. It's Aish Mashiach. It's nothing less than that. It's an Or of Mashiach Tzidkenu. What's going on in the world? And now with all the psychedelics, and with the healing, and all kinds of things, and the trauma, and what's happening. Everything is all happening now. And with the Muhammad Eretz Yisrael and everything that's happening. Gdalya Olam Shechakagu B'Sifreim Es Chachmas HaSayid V'Razeh. All the great tzaddikim that engraved in their svarim, the secrets, the deep secrets of Torah, Hechinam Mazon L'Dor HaGula. They're preparing the nourishment and the food for the generation of Gula. This generation of Gula. That was in the svarim still yesterday. So he has that. One of the svarim I got was Ksovim from Chaim Vital. So I said, what's going on? What are these Ksovim from Chaim Vital? Where were they until now? I don't know. It's a whole mice how they found from Chaim. There's something. Chaim Vital, there's new stuff from Chaim Vital. They died a long time ago. Like, where was this? Then you open it up, you could pass out from the light that's in the news. You could faint. It takes the breath away. Mamish. I don't know how to describe it. Iris from Chaim Vital, like he spoke to us back then. Hundreds of years ago, he spoke to us. He was Arizal's biggest time. He spoke to us back then, and it wasn't being heard or seen. And now, before Mashiach comes, like in the swamps, hey, get your Chaim Michal, get your Chaim Vital. It's like a scorecard they're selling in the stadium. They got on the table there a pile of Chaim Vital, Nuksavim. Where do these come from? Then there's another one from the son of the Rashash. They asked him, I said, what was this doing? Where? The Rashash's son had this. And he also saw in Kavanas and Kabbalah, the Rashash's son. Never heard of it. Such iris. So he's saying that tzaddikim prepared iris that for years were hidden in basements and libraries. And now Hashem said, Achshav Yigi Azman. That's what's happening. Yigi Azman. The time has come. And these are iris that so he's saying that tzaddikim prepared this for us. Hechinu Mazon, they prepared food, nourishment, the Dor HaGula, the generation of redemption. Sheyigash b'chol oiz el hamayanas elu. Because they knew, they were HaKodesh, that the time would come, not when they were alive, the very tiny little circles of students, but the time would come where there'd be a tzimon, a Dvar Hashem. Lo Rav L'Lechem L'Tzormon Kim L'Shmas Dvar Hashem, a tzimon for Dvar Hashem. But Dvar Hashem, Dvar L'Kim Chayim. Rabbi Chaim Vital, the Rashash's son, they really came Chaim, mamish. B'toch ha'agoi v'kedushas kodesh ha'kadoshim, v'tal Chaim ze yiftach es ha'atoros ha'nisos, Chaim neshama Chaim v'yichida, she'yeshuva v'yiru ba'am Yisrael b'shuv Hashem tziyah. All this is to prepare Am Yisrael to receive the light of Yechida, which is Mashiach Tzidkenu, that's going to be revealed. B'shuv Hashem tziyah. Al nabid rak al marei v'achitzon shel derenu. You have to be very careful. Don't look just at the outside. Don't look at the way the hippies dressed and the music they listened to and the stuff they were smoking. Don't look at that. Don't look at them on the outside like that. And the same way, don't look at outside. Don't look at the generation on the outside. Now, Mikal Teichel Levavu. You have to go deep into the Teich, into the heart of the people. How many of these kids that are being thrown out of our schools are the deepest kids, and the school doesn't get them. And I don't blame anybody. They have to run a school. This kid's he's off the wall. But the deepest people. Teichel Levavu. Namik Teichel Levavu. You have to go deep. Don't look at the generation on the outside. Look inside. Navim beside Kisufa v'tnois ma'avaya. And see that this is a generation that's like Rav Kook's Maimer Hador that we learned, that the generation is filled with longing and Tnuas Ma'avayev and this great movement of the soul's longings. V'nabar al tivam, to try to understand the generation, to understand the kids. Val habesura gedola shegnuza b'hem, that the generation carries within it a besura gedola, big news of Mashiach Tzidkenu. It's a besura gedola that's hidden in them, and all the narishkeit, all the silliness. Now it seems to be like all of the gashmias, so now we're living in a time where but among frum people, there's a ruchniistic obsession with gashmias. It's not gashmias anymore. It's not gashmias anymore. It's beyond that. Everybody here knows that the Indian of gashmias these days is not like anymore like 50 years ago. The Rabbi would say, "Oh, the gashmias." It's not because what was the gashmias then? The Indian that people have with the gashmias now, with gashmias now, it's ruchnias. I don't know how to explain that. It's something which is bizarre. It's supernatural. It's crazy. It's crazy. The obsession with gashmias. It's beyond physical. It's all about gashmias. The kids want this, they want this, they want this, they want this, they want that, they want everything, they want everything. It's mislabish and gashmistic things, but it's a ruchnistic thing that they're not being satisfied by anything that they get. Nothing is satisfying them. So you could write them off and say, a bunch of big balei taiva, we were such tzaddikim back in the 60s. This generation, they're much bigger than we were. Much, much bigger. Their taivas cannot be satisfied. We were relatively easily put off. We had, when color television came out, it can't get better than that. I mean, Flintstones and color, It's the best thing that ever happened. That was enough. So go out of them. We didn't have this endless Ein Sof. We're learning about in the Yosef Tzaddik. Ein Sof of taivas for things. Parents are finding it impossible to satisfy their children because they're not satisfied. They can't be satisfied. Rav Kook spoke about the chutzpah of the end of time. He spoke about all of this. He called it exactly the unbelievable chutzpah that's at the end of time, because they want something and they're not getting it, but they don't know what they want. So you give them the thing they wanted most, and then they get it, and then it's not worth anything. So they had phone model 1, phone number 2. I don't know what's up to now. Whatever, Samsung or Android, whatever they're called. 8 and 9 and 10, and it's going to keep on going until what? Until it's echad. until all the machines are going to disappear. Remember that I'm telling it to you. I have perm cotton. We're going to see it. All these things are going to disappear, and it's going to be our echad. That's where everything is going. That's why it's everything. All the things they're doing is making connections. This whole thing with social media and network, all this stuff is all. Everything now is about connecting Aleph and Beis and Gimel and Dalet. It's all algorithms. I don't know what they are. I never met one, but I'll hear about it. The algorithms. It's connecting. This guy walks into the store. This guy's. Someone told me a Maisa that about the kid. He has a kid that's a lefty, and he walked into some store, and they said, and the announcement went out, lefties come over here to get the baseball gloves. The lefty section. He's a lefty. He walked in. Who told the store this kid's a lefty? Something must have come up that they were talking on the phone. I don't know what. I don't know how that works. But they gave him like a Baruch Haba. Baruch Haba, there's a lefty here. We have a whole section of gloves for lefties. Somebody's talking to him about he's a lefty. Somebody's talking to him. Everything is about making these connections. That never was such a thing. It's a half-a-dick thing. And it's all exactly what happened, happier and happier and happier. But the way they feel it now is miserable. Echad. That's what's happening. The kids can't be made happy. As much as you try, can't be made happy. Whatever you get them, how come Yankel has, I don't have that. There's no way to quench their thirst. There's no way to satisfy them. They can't be satisfied. I'm not saying everyone, but there's an avirah of not being satisfied. And the teachers don't want to do it, parents don't want to do it. It's a mystery. What do you want? Everything. One thing at a time, but everything. They want everything. That's Mashiach. That's what they want. But they don't know what they want. But that's what it is. So that means that we're now Am Yisrael. Don't look, he says, at the outside. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and we're getting ready for Nevuah and for Yechida, for Mashiach Tzidkenu. Okay, we'll finish this next time. Is there a minion to daven, Amar?
John.